Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel.
Hello, hello.
Hello, it's Friday. Finally, I'm happy it's the end of the week. I'm not happy I don't get GH for 2 days.
So you're happy it's the end of the week. I'm happy because it's like my one human social interaction for the week.
Oh, I should call you more. I feel like a terrible sister.
Well, Johnny worked from home like twice this week, so that
Okay.
was kind of a nice change of like seeing another person during the day. Anyways, let's just skip over the fact that I'm a big loser and let's just talk about GH and all those weirdos part of DOD. Yeah, I'm not lame. Okay, so we're going somewhere. We're moving forward, and I think Willow's story, like Willow giving more detail, is what's also making me more interested. So, like, I'll just say like my reasons for kind of like liking it a bit more, because at first I just felt like it's this cult, there was this mystery, but we weren't learning much other than Sam's plan going super slow.
Exactly. We didn't know why. The only tidbits we had is that, there's some sort of money scheme that he is basically brainwashing people or has this allure that attracts people who are searching for that sense of
Yeah,
community.
control.
I
And you had said that
Yes.
last time, that control is obviously like a big piece of what's wrong, obviously.
But we didn't understand to what extent when she started breaking down, like Willow started breaking down her experience and talking about the room and being pressured. It really gave me the creeps. Like it gave me goosebumps in a creepy way to think that one, these things actually happen,
They
and
do.
two, she had to, you know, that she realized it and that she ran away, and the reason is because of the children, that he wanted to
Yeah.
raise them from ground up. It was just so next level creepy. Like we always say, he's creepy, the situation's weird, he plays the role very well because we all don't like him as the character Shiloh, and it just like amplified what I was feeling.
It did. Like when she brought in the kids part and how like how that was a really important part of his overall plan for
Mm-hmm.
DOD, is having people grow up within his cult. So that really added an interesting layer to it for me. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is like really getting serious and really getting creepy. So that is making me really interested in the storyline. So just having more detail. But the second thing that's making me very interested
Mm-hmm.
is the mess Kristina's created. And it's kind of the same reason I liked the Ryan storyline, is because aside from like Ryan being crazy and psychotic, throughout the storyline, things were happening just in terms of people's lives that would create this huge problem after everything came out, you know? Like with Ava, like there's a lot of aftermath stuff that was happening, like Lulu sort of, misidentifying someone. So there was a lot there. And I think that there's a lot here with DOD with Kristina. She's digging more and more a hole for herself. Okay, so there was a scene with her
Mm-hmm.
where she said to her mother and called
Oh
her
yeah. Oh yeah. I know
Miss
what you're gonna say.
Davis. Miss
I could
Davis.
not believe, like I wrote in my notes Miss Davis in capital letters with lots of exclamation marks, because I cannot believe she is actually doing this.
Do you know what's funny? I looked up the law, and you can slap your child when they do this. Like you can. I'm pretty sure Alexis could have legally, law in Port Charles, by the way, everyone. I'm pretty sure Alexis could have slapped her right there, and she should have, because that
Or
would have been amazing. Maybe she needs a slap, really, shake up that little brain that in hers it's been brainwashed.
yes, that's the thing. Throw a cold drink in her face. Do one of those soap opera type things that you do to snap somebody out of it. And
I
like I was infuriated.
I just have to say, like Christina talks about how her mom tries to control her. But I
Yes.
think this week it really highlighted the clear difference. And we know that there's a difference between her relationship with Alexis and with Sunny. But it's obvious that in her relationship with Alexis, she does control Alexis, just in the same way Alexis attempts to control her. Christina very much controls Alexis because what's always being held over Alexis's head is basically like, if you do the wrong thing, she's on eggshells, and if you do the wrong thing, you lose Christina. And that's a bigger power that Christina has over her mother than, let's say, Alexis being annoying. because
Oh,
Alexis is never
100%.
going to leave her, you know? So it's just sort of annoying that she doesn't see that double standard, that she also controls that relationship. And Molly pointed it out, you know, that mom walks on eggshells around you. And with Sunny, that scene she had when he went to go see her, and I liked it because over the weeks, I find it's been really hard for me to articulate why this is so frustrating, because
Yes.
all of it is so subtle. And I think that mirrors really well in real life. All of it was so subtle because on the surface, certain things she would say sounds, well, okay, I'm volunteering. What bad thing can you say about this? But then,
Exactly.
and then it was like, you're disagreeing with me and you don't want me to grow. And it's like, in a way, you're like, okay, sure, people do struggle with that outside of a cult. Like, you grow and people are trying to pull you back, but it's not necessarily in this case. And everything is getting muddled and twisted in her mind. And I liked Sunny because he was able to articulate all those things. Like, you can be invested, but it can't be your whole life. Your whole life has to be very different areas. Everyone has different domains in their life. So I liked what he was saying, and she really didn't have much to say in response to that.
No, her only response was anger. And that's the thing about Kristina. She acts like a little teenager all the time. Yet she keeps constantly saying that she's growing and how much Shiloh has helped her. If Shiloh has actually helped her, her interactions with the people around her would improve, not get worse.
Oh my God, yeah. The fact that she's not seeing that is, well, the fact that I'm not seeing that even is just, it's insane. And it's a really, really, really good point. And it's just, it was really annoying because when, like, I know it never works with Sunny because he never gives her the reaction that like Alexis might. So the moment she goes, oh, are you going to take her side? Like, she just snaps at him before the guy can get a word in. It's like,
I
what
know.
are you doing? Like, you act like such a brat, and then you want everyone to like, to trust you. And she even asked the question, do you trust me? And the worst part is everyone kind of has to say yes, even
I know
though,
nobody believes it. Even when they say it, you're like, wow, that's
but you
super
have to, because
convincing.
what are you going to say to her now that's
I
going to
know.
push her way further? But anyways, the best part of that whole interaction was when Sunny reminded her who he was. He's not just her dad, he's a hell of a lot more powerful than that.
I loved it that he dropped his weight. He's like, I'm not in Turkey anymore. I'm in Port Charles. What I do means something, and I'm gonna let you know.
And I love it. I think he literally said the words something like, have you forgotten who I am?
Yeah, he said that. I was like,
It was amazing.
yes.
It was amazing. And what I like noticed with her is like, she doesn't have any power over that. She has nothing to say. She has no defense. Notice she didn't dismiss her dad. Notice she didn't exile him
Hmm.
from her life. She stomped out upset like a little kid because she just has nothing to say. And that's like the huge difference I find between him and Alexis, is that I feel like she almost thinks she treats Alexis like she's a joke, and she kind of knows she
Yes.
can do or say whatever she wants with her. And with Sunny, you can tell that a lot of what he does just carries a little bit more weight with her. And she's not so quick to kind of defend herself, like almost like maybe he makes sense. Like maybe.
Hopefully, that will just plant a tiny little seed to open her eyes a bit bigger when she goes into that house.
But since we're talking about Sunny, and then she brought up the whole Jason fiasco to him. So So, what did
Oh.
you think about her reaction? Like, her main reaction was at the hospital with Shiloh and Sam. What did you think about that?
I honestly, I was like, Christina, shut your damn mouth. She was being
Mm-hmm.
completely ridiculous, hysterical, and it is not for her to say.
No, like the funny thing is, it's like they re-showed a clip of her kind of, well, she was listening to a recording of what the secret was,
Yes,
and I was like,
yes.
why have her record one? Look at her running her mouth. She says things constantly. She's getting people into trouble constantly, and she's talking about other people's lives. Like, I don't understand what was going through her mind, and it just, obviously things went too far because Sam sort of had to break character by really pulling her back.
Yes, the look on Sam's face, how had the look that she was giving her and had to stop her. It was intense because it's like she's so far gone, Christina, that what did she actually say in that microphone? Did she give away her dad's like business, his cover business? Did she give away his
I would like to
his
hope
like
that it was something on Sam
I
personally,
do
like,
I
because you
truly
made that
believe that.
suggestion, and I hope that it is, because that would be a really good story. Because when she finds out, like when all this comes to light, and she sees that for what it is, and then finds out everything Sam did for her, and then knowing that she put Sam in jeopardy somehow. And I think with Sam, to watch how she was ready to throw her father under the bus,
Yes.
not just Jason, even though Jason obviously has a lot of meaning and has done a lot for Kristina over the years, but she threw her father under the bus as well, which was completely insane. And this is why I'm very interested in this storyline, and I hope the aftermath is handled really well, because Kristina has literally destroyed her life and relationships in a way that she has never done before.
Absolutely. Everything else was forgivable. She was younger. She's made missteps. I mean,
Yes, she was younger.
exactly.
Willow pointed out it's like she's vulnerable and everybody knows that she is, but yeah, she crossed a line that I don't know what it's going to take for her to get back. I think like with the parents, it'll be a little easier. I don't know actually.
I
She's
don't
done a
know
lot of
because
bad.
exactly. And here's the clincher for me, I guess, in a sense. I'm not sure if that's the right word. So when Willow's telling her story, she sounds like she had a really, really rough upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
We're assuming that she got abandoned and that the people that adopted her didn't do a very good job. She had this one doll that she kept close. She was searching for a sense of community and she left. Kristina has had everything under the sun. She has a support group. She has a network of people who would lay their life on the line for her, literally save her life, be there for her. And yet she's still so lost
Well,
based on her own toiling.
vulnerable is vulnerable, and the thing is, what you said, you pointed out the facts of her life, but at the end of the day, it's not so much that, it's someone's perception of their reality. So Kristina has
True.
had an amazing life, but it's the perception of what her life is that has the most power of
Okay,
anything,
but
because she perceives everyone else to be better than her. And what she like, that part I don't necessarily dispute, not saying that everyone's better than
mhm,
her, but what she did when she had that conversation with Michael, I think that highlights a lot of why she sort of finds herself where she is that there was a role created for her in the family as sort of a screw up. And she
mhm,
talks about, and that's a real thing in families, that everyone
true.
plays a role in the problem. Like the problem is not always in the person. So the problem is not necessarily always in Kristina. Everyone sort of participates in perpetuating this sort of thing, this dynamic. And but she acknowledged that she sort of plays into it too. So she has her own pattern and her own issues, just sort of Alexis says. So it's really complicated. And that's sort of why I like the story, because we're seeing different types of people being drawn in. Because remember, Christina's not the only person being drawn in. You have the DA, although I'm sure people don't have a high
Exactly.
opinion of the DA and her choices either. But there's a lot of different people that have been drawn in,
That's true. I was
including
just
Harmony.
That's true as well. I guess with all the intensity of this week, I just had this little moment of picturing, when Willow was talking about everybody's in this room together and he brings in runaways and people who've been, really traumatized. And then you have Christina, talking about her life and being like, well, my mom's a lawyer and my dad's super rich. And I have this really loving family. Like in comparison to
Yeah,
somebody
no,
who's like a runaway. And just being in that room, it kind of made me giggle at just that scene on a if we switched it to a comedy as opposed to a drama.
yeah, like Christina doesn't really recognize what she has, and she doesn't,
No,
because
of
she
course not.
calls DOD a family and she says that they're supporting, they're all these things, but there
Yeah.
are also things that you've never really allowed your family to do. You've always sort of pushed them away, and you've always sort of kind of went off on your own. So yes, that is a stark difference. It's because I think, like, especially when we think of somebody like Joss, because
Yes.
Joss grew up with all the same privileges, but she's also
Yeah.
a different person. Like she's also she's stronger. She's
She's
different.
stronger. Yes, absolutely.
So there is something about Christine and her personality that just she tends to make life a little difficult for herself. So look, like you said, she's kind of had everything. She appears to have a different upbringing than Willow. So the hope is she recognizes that whatever that thing is,
Hmm.
it's worth addressing and fixing, and maybe not dismissing, like, because maybe all these years, like when she was having that conversation with Michael, she was dismissing the fact and just accepting this screw up role that I'm bound to fail. Like maybe that's always in the back of her head. So she
True.
has her own issues, and maybe this whole DOD thing will show her this is how far you can go if you really don't address these
Your issue.
things.
Exactly.
So we'll see. So I guess I'm just really rooting for, not for the story to be over, but basically I'm rooting for the story that will result of like when the whole thing, like the cult gets dismantled.
Hmm.
So aside from Christina, you have Sam bending over backwards, pleading for more time. And I'm just curious.
Hmm.
Why not just go to Sunny herself? Like, why is she having this like conversation with Michael in this new location that everyone's hanging out with? Like this new alley?
I know, I
This new
like it with the
alleyway? It's
yeah,
a
that's
fancy one?
brighter. Well, maybe they heard our talks about why is everybody hang out by the dock, so they made this brighter, more beautiful place in the city with a one garbage can, and just everybody tends to walk through that little space.
I'm
I
for
mean,
it. You know what? I'm all for that. I think it makes more sense to bump into each other there than at the edge of the city because that's how I picture it. It's the
and
edge
it
of the city. Why is everyone at the edge of the city all the time?
exactly, and it always makes me really happy is that there's new sets, not just for the fact that there's a change of scenery, but it lets me know that there's some money being push towards
Invested.
GA invest exactly. Oh my gosh, it's from my Friday words. Being invested into GH and creating these stories, and I'm like, yes, we have more time.
Yeah, that's all I really want. I don't know what I would do. I can't even have
I
that
can't even. We're not
conversation.
even going there because, like, no.
So yeah, so do you think that Sansa just talked to Sunny? Like, I don't know. Like, does her plan have to be so secret? Can't the family be involved in this point?
Well, we talked about it last week too, that she's really thinking with her sister brain, really not her logical brain. I 100% think she needs to bring more people in because more and more people know, like we're saying, Michael is aware of the situation right now. Sunny is aware of the situation. Everybody has this influence and power to work together to figure it out. She might not have all the ideas. Maybe there's a different approach. Maybe there's a three-way approach.
Because what's her plan when you get to the top? Like, let's say she
Well,
goes
that's
through
what
all
I'm
these
wondering
commitment things.
too.
Well, I get that she's trying to stay close to her, but at the same time, like, how do you plan on taking him down? Like, if that's your plan, she was at the police station with Shiloh. She could tell Chase is sort of onto something. If she talks to Jason, she'd understand that he did divulge some information. So she also knows that there's a Willow Tate. There's something going on with Shiloh. There's an ex-member present in Port Charles that he's seeking to take back. Like, if you're really looking to take him down, Willow is your key, not so much what you're doing.
Exactly.
Like I
Exactly.
wouldn't invest too much time. Like, go to a seminar here or there and please Kristina, but being this close to Shiloh,
Well,
I
being
mean, I don't
this
really know in the end how that's going to serve her.
being this close and bringing your kid into it. I do not know how she functioned in that scene. I would have functioned probably more so like Jason, which
Yeah.
I'm surprised it took him so long to do what he did. I know he's being strategic, but I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for that moment of that Jason Shiloh explosion. And the minute Shiloh put his hand on Jason, I was like, oh my gosh, it's over.
But strategic is exactly the right word to kind of describe that whole thing because it was freaking amazing. Like, I just couldn't believe it when Shiloh was just saying there was nothing you could do about it. I was laughing. Of like, did you just say those words out loud? You told Jason Morgan, Jason, do you know how to Google? Like,
He
do
didn't
you,
buy
do
the
you
Port
know how to Google?
Charles
You wrote a book. You know who Sam is. I'm just
right.
wondering. Google or whatever they call it. They call it Spider something or something weird is what they call their like search engine in Port Charles. But I was just like, I'm like, you're gonna die. Like, what do you
Right? Like
that's all like,
Even Lucy's book. You could have picked up Lucy's book and that would have had the rundown of
right?
the city.
So a lot of people I think had a lot of fun with that scene. And Tweety Bird 717 said, my favorite was Jason could have hurt or killed him, but he didn't. And I liked that. And they emphasized that in the scene when so the girl who works at Kelly's, which, never talks, had a
Right.
ton of lines in this scene. It was really hilarious. Like that's what I kind of noticed and was impressed by is that this sort of person that's always at Kelly's just barely speaking had a crap ton of lines about Jason. And I'm just like, honestly, if you work here at Kelly's, maybe you shouldn't be so involved and maybe you shouldn't say too much
just
about
look
Jason.
the yeah, just look the other way. Don't you know
Yeah.
Port Charles?
So I just thought that was really funny and I loved it because when Jason repeated, but I didn't, I was like, okay, do you get it now, Shiloh, that he could kill you if he wanted to? And then we have Etang17 who said, I've never been so anxious about a storyline before. And I've been watching GH for years. Shiloh gives me the chills. Ew is right. So
Oh
I thought
yeah.
that was funny. He really does a really good job of creeping us out. He was like baiting Jason, but I think baiting all of the audience too, because it's just too much hearing him talk. And Panetta Baralero said Shiloh is asking for trouble and he will most certainly get it. I really hope so, but the way it's going, he might get trouble down the line at some point eventually, is the feeling I'm getting.
I know. I think this is going to take a little bit longer. The way I see, especially, how do you say, like, he approached Brad, like the way things are going with the baby, there's also multiple stories that are unfolding right now at the same time because of DOD. So I think he needs to be there a little bit longer for Kristina to fall in everybody's graces completely, for the identity of the baby to come out, for the identity of Willow to come out. Like, there's all these things that also tie into him.
And I think we might need to see the DA get sucked in a little bit more so she could be completely humiliated when the whole thing goes down. So yeah, I think that the storyline will take a little bit more time. Like you said, there's a lot of players, but I'm kind of wondering, like with the Ryan thing, we
Yes.
suspected so many people who might be taking him down. And
Mhm.
right now, Sam is very, like you said, over involved, and you don't think she's making rational choices. But I'm starting to think this will all come down to Chase and Jase.
The new tag team duo.
So did you not like I liked Chase a lot this week. I loved his intensity and how he behaves around Shiloh. I loved how aggressive he was when investigating the waitress at Kelly's, because it was clear what he was trying to do, that he was trying
Yes.
to get enough evidence to suggest that you couldn't really press charges. And I love that, because I was just like, please just spit it out and tell Jason that you're on his side. So I
I
was really
know.
happy that he said enough. And it seemed like Jason silently said, okay, I'll work with you.
I felt the same way too. I felt that Jason will share information with Chase. I also very much enjoyed Chase this week. His interactions with Willow, I really, really
Love
like the way
them.
they are. He's supportive and kind, but gentle. He still wants to, push a little further to understand where she's coming from, but just so gentle and kind. And then when he grabbed her and kissed her when he found out that she was staying, and then he apologized, they were so cute together.
They were. I really liked them. And I was so happy when she decided to stay.
Me
But
too.
like going back to Brad, I just have to say, Brad of all people, shouldn't he be able to spot a scam like a mile away?
Right? I'm like, you cannot be so far into this lie that you can't see the truth or what's happening right in front of you. And in that scene,
To recognize
I
a fellow con man.
exactly when he was with who was he with? When he was with Willow and she said she wanted to hold the baby and say goodbye. I really thought she was gonna run away with the baby at some point because she was just like
So
walking
funny.
slowly away and he's like, if you hold him longer, it's not gonna change anything. You were
I
still thinking along those
know. I mean, I can't
like what a
imagine the
jerk.
power. I can't imagine the powerlessness. It's kind of like he's trying to do a nice thing, but he's like, it's my baby. And there is going to be that territorial thing that's going to exist for sure. Like, he doesn't want her
Yes.
to steal the baby, obviously.
He's like,
He
I
already
stole
stole the
one.
baby. He
Exactly.
stole the baby. He's like, I don't need you to steal it from me. I already stole him. He's been stolen. It's all good. Everything's fine. And okay, so one more thing about this whole cult thing.
Yes.
Alexis reminded me why she's so annoying.
Oh, is it this scene with her and Sunny?
Why do you go to Sunny asking him for help and then being like, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna call the cops. I'm a big tattletale. For a girl who's murdered a bunch of people, like, really, get off your high horse. Like, everything that's come out in therapy with her, I was just like, then what was it that you wanted Sunny to do? Did you think he was gonna go give Kristina a stern talking to and then that would work? Do you not know your daughter?
Yes, I have to admit all I could say was why, really, why? I think we're on the same train of thought in terms of
To
her
Jordan?
calling Jordan and then saying, keep an eye on him because somebody's after him. Like, was that necessary? What about keep an eye on Shiloh? He's a devious human being.
Right? Right? You could have tipped Jordan off and say, hey, that's what I thought she was gonna do. Instead, she's like, I want to save Shiloh's life. If I can save his life, I'll feel super good. Will you? Will you feel really good when he takes down your daughter? Will you feel so good about that? It's like you already killed one of her boyfriends. What's another guy? What's another guy? So I just think, why not alert Jordan that he is a cult leader and that she should keep an eye out and kind of look at him, because honestly I thought for once
Mm-hmm.
Jordan was onto something. Like, for one, she seemed
Ugh,
on the money when she was talking to Jason. Do you know something about Dawn of Day? You never lose it. I was like, oh, these are really interesting observations. I thought, okay, she's
agreed.
getting it. So when she was going to hold somebody, I thought, if anything, she would have held Shiloh, let's say, for his protection. But she was so predictable.
I know. I did also enjoy the line of questioning because it was all the things that we already know, but she just kind of makes sure like you never lose your cool, what happened, what provoked you, blah blah blah. So I like the line of questioning and how she acted, but of course there was the she left the room and everything was lost.
Yeah, and then what bothers me a lot too is that, you're the commissioner. Why is it that she can't put the DA in her place? Like, there's been so many times where they blatantly have different points of views on a case, and maybe the DA is being too aggressive. And I find she doesn't do enough of a good job of just speaking up and saying, "Hey, you're being out of line. Hey, we don't do this." Like, she stood there as the DA has said and done very ridiculous things and have been pushy about things that might not be appropriate or gone down the right avenue. And I find she's never really spoken up enough. And I feel like, why not? And you obviously suspect something about Shiloh. You're not sharing it with her. Fine, whatever. But, like, just speak up and say things might not always appear what they seem.
I agree. There's none of that partnership, that good cop, bad cop.
Well, she's
They
partnered
they
with the
don't read
one
each
person,
other.
but she's partnered with the one person who doesn't work there. She's partnered with Curtis. Like, she tells Curtis everything, but she doesn't inform
Hmm.
really anybody else on the force about her thoughts or her gut or her instincts.
That's a really good point, and the DA should be somebody that she can speak to freely, so they can figure this out together because they should be aligned to some extent.
I think so, that they should be aligned. And I just think either you just don't trust her, because what else,
Hmm.
that's just my, like, theory for now, is that you clearly don't trust her, or you think she's a child, because you don't really give her pertinent information. And even in the scene where that happened, like, last week, when she was telling Laura she was going to press charges and wanted support, it's like, even in that moment, you could say, like, Jordan could have spoken up and says, look, I understand you want to go after him, but out of respect, can you just tone it down a little bit or back off? We'll have this conversation a little bit later. Like, I just think that there are plenty of opportunities where Jordan can speak up with her. And again, the DA, she shows up. She's not likable. So, like Shiloh, she
No,
does a really good job of just, because she's not meant to be liked. I mean, when you're instigating things in this way, you're not exactly, your aim is not to get us to like you, obviously, and that's fine. Like, she's there to play this villain, and she's there to rile us up, and she does that. But I'm just like, isn't she tired of being a fool? Like, isn't she tired of coming off like a moron? This week I posted because, she went to bat for Nell because of
yes,
who Nell was up against. And now she's going to bat for Shiloh. She doesn't know him, but also who he's going up against.
she
Nuts.
the DA is like a grown-up version of Christina.
Oh, that's
Burn.
harsh but true.
There's so many similarities. As you're talking, I'm like, check, check, check. There you go. It's very weird. Hmm.
Well, she has daddy issues. I can't even begin. I don't even know what issues Kristina has. I won't talk about her.
Exactly.
But people had some funny things to say about her. So MECMPK said she's an awful DA. She must have gotten her degree out of a Cracker Jacks box. That made me laugh. Ooh, we speaking of daddy issues. So SC Hona says she has daddy issues and is trying to save everyone because she can't deal with her own inner turmoil. But my problem with her is that she doesn't seem to know who to save. It's sort of like, let me just save anybody based on this concept of what I have is good and bad. And Sunny and Jason are bad, so anybody they go up against must be good.
Yes. So that's exactly like she was such a, I don't know, buzzkill is when she turned to Jason, when Shiloh dropped the charges, and she said, like, you owe this guy your life, and blah, blah, blah. Like that scene was not necessary. Like she did not need to amp up that moment.
No, it was more like a DoD follower in her. That was more like, he gives
Yes.
really good seminars, so you need to be grateful. Like, it's not a good look for her. She's not giving to herself any
No.
favors, and this is what I mean. Like, aside from Jordan not trusting her, respecting her, like, give the girl a heads up. Like, obviously, I don't think she knows that this girl is going to the self help stuff, and she has the
No.
Dawn of Day book, but you might want to give her a heads up that she's heading down a path that will just embarrass her and everyone else.
Oh yeah, like definitely when she said that, I'm like, oh yeah, she's like fangirling over him all kinds.
Yeah, and so okay, so a couple of other comments related to Margot. So MB Poupe said she is still looking to bring Sunny down, not seeing the big picture. And another, like this is a tweet, and also I think it, it gives a good sense of like that tunnel vision that I think is really obvious with her. At Sarah Pilardi said, Dawson is so desperate to take Sunny and Jason down that she has tunnel vision when it comes to instances they're involved in. They are far from perfect, but she should see how sketchy Shiloh is. But she doesn't care as long as she can destroy Sunny and Jason.
It's very true because where is her gut instinct?
Exactly. Like we gave Jordan crap for kind of like not trusting her gut, and she didn't really like, she hesitated to speak up, and it took Curtis to kind of help support her theory and say, okay, let's try to explore it, because she's the commissioner, she's the boss, and she can't seem to speak up against the DA who just wants to run with the charges she has.
Yes.
And it doesn't bode well for the DA that she doesn't have good instincts at all to kind of spot a con artist. Like, you can't honestly just base all of this on, I know someone's bad because they already have a really big file. Like, that's your basis of being able to judge people, is that there's already fixed files. Like Sunny and Jason have a file a mile long. So if somebody doesn't have any, you just can't figure it out on your own.
Exactly. It's really messed up.
It's really, really ridiculous. It's too bad, so sad, but I think she's about to humiliate herself for like the millionth time.
I agree. And just talking about ridiculous things, there's one thing that I totally forgot to mention in that Shiloh Jason scene at
Okay.
Kelly's. So Sam, when she walks in and sees that this whole altercation is happening or maybe just ended, Shiloh said something to her. And I think she said something along the lines as, I need you, Shiloh. How did she even get those words out of her mouth without throwing up? Because I threw up a little bit when I saw
I
her do
almost threw up just hearing you say that.
it.
And if we're throwing in last minute comments, I have one that I wrote down. Kristina is a moron. I wrote it down because I had enough.
I love it. I love it when you do that, when you have to like actually check your notes. And then sometimes I hear you going through your notes and then you say something like that. It kills me. Highlight of my week, I'm telling you.
Okay, so let's can we talk about Anna for a
Do we have
sec?
to?
Briefly, because usually I
Okay.
have nothing super amazing to say, and I often don't like. I find her interactions with Peter kind of cringeworthy, because she's
Oh,
all like,
right.
Be
Yes.
my child," and he's all like, "No, I'm okay." and so and so this week, I have to say, it was the first time I really enjoyed their interaction. Again, it was in the new alley, a very fancy
Yes.
alleyway.
Very
So
fancy.
I just really loved the scene. I loved their act. Well, I like Peter's acting. Anna's great, but he's like new, and this is like a cool side to him. Like, we know she can do it, and so, and
Yes.
even though Peter's done a good job, this was a very one of the most vulnerable scenes he's really ever done, and so I really liked it. It was the most real they've ever been, and hearing Peter's perspective for the first time just explained everything. It explained everything. I'm like, oh, I get it. I get it.
Same, same. Because even I kind of felt like Anna, you're forgiving all these people around yourself,
Me too.
like
Yes, I
forgiving all these
get that.
people. And then Anna's kind of like, I don't understand what's happening right now. And when he gave her the cold, hard facts, the cold, hard truth, and the look in his eyes, and how he was just giving it everything he had and letting it all loose and being so raw was wow. I was so impressed. And then I thought it was so funny the way they wrapped it up, though. She's like, I'm going to Charlie's. Me too. And then they just leave.
Yeah, and he gave her a ride, and
I
I
know.
don't think he can open up his heart to her just yet. But the point is, the guy is trying the best he can, and it's almost like he takes little steps. But I think, and we talked about perception, like Christina and how
Yes.
she perceived her upbringing, and this is a strong perception. And okay, so before I go on to explain, it kind of ties into this comment. So more like Debbie said, I see Peter's perspective too, but I see Anna's. She's trying to make amends for her actions, so he should be open-minded, and Anna too. Then maybe they can work it out. Look, I think
Mm,
they're going to work it out, but
yes.
even though Peter is an adult, The point is, in a mother-child relationship and a parent-child relationship, I don't think you can ever 100% be two adults in it. I
Yeah.
think I think eventually if I think eventually once you can get to like a healthier place, you can maybe look past things and start to understand the other person. But the reason why I think that it'll be hard for Peter and it'll always be a few steps forward, a few steps back, because I think the perspective he has is one of a child's perspective. Like, even though he's an adult, he's still a kid inside who was abandoned. So I think that's why it's hard, because this is not adult Peter being like, okay, this is my perspective, but I hear you now and I realize it. When he says it, I think he's speaking from like a kid. And it was
I
really interesting. He sees her as like Anna Devane. So that's why I think it's going to be a little bit hard. I think they'll get there. I think for sure that they're going to work it out. But I think
mhm.
it's definitely going to be a lot more challenging for Peter to push past his perspective.
Yes. Um, I think that because he got so raw, it's they can actually start from a place of rebuilding because it's
Yeah.
all out true honesty at this point. And I mean, gosh, even dad brings out the teenager in me sometimes. So you just don't get out of that entirely as
No,
an
it's a
adult.
dynamic
So
that's there, you know?
exactly. And you know what I was thinking though? And I think just because what was it last week when Lulu's like, you're, never leave me again. Of course he leaves. So he keeps emphasizing the fact that, oh goodness, what is this crazy dad's name?
Faison.
Faison. So Faison was a really messed up guy. Does Anna actually remember sleeping with him?
She does, but we don't know if it's her memory, and I don't think it is.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that the sister is the mother of Peter. I think that just that sleeping with somebody. What if it's like Robert's kid?
What?
Like, what if, okay, just like bear with me in like the science of soap operas, okay?
Robert and Faison had a baby?
No!
What?
Robert and Anna, okay? What if
Oh,
this
man.
baby is actually Robert and Anna's kid, but that memory is extracted and implanted is the memory of her sleeping with Faison, which her sister actually did. So it is her kid, just not the right father. What happens then, my friends? What happens then? I have a lot of time to think about this stuff when I'm at work and I'm bored. No, I'm
You
kidding.
told me about a busy week, so I'm
I
like, how did
did.
you
I
manage
did.
this in a really busy
No,
week?
it's my escape.
That is
Like when I just
so
need that
good.
5 seconds of not thinking about work and all the crazy that's happening, I think about the pretend crazy.
Wow, I worry when I have 5 minutes free. I like what you do better. I love that. So that would be epic and even more heartbreaking for Peter, because now he grew up with Faison for no reason, like literally no reason, like no
Right? It's
reason.
just like all these no reason
Oh,
at all. It's just like how what's the sister's name? Why do I forget?
Alex, Alex.
Alex. And just remember when she went into the elevator, Alex made like a
She
little
said
comment about
Robert.
Robert. And then she's like, you know what I mean? So like everything's kind of like
So
in
good.
motion. So we'll see. We'll see. That's
We'll
my next prediction.
see.
Big prediction.
So I mean, I kind of made like a light comment about Peter and Anna this week, even though that was a really intense scene. That like, if it helps him, she did abandon Robin too. I don't know
I
if it
think
helps.
that's hilarious.
I don't know if it helps, but she did do that. And so, uh, Widow Kelly said she left Robin for a time also. Don't forget that too. Explain that to him. And what I love is that I have another person kind of explaining more of the history. So, Love Ring Dog Mom says maybe they should bring Robin back to explain to him that she didn't even know that Anna was her mother for a long time. Thought she was this nice family friend, and then she did know her as her mother. She left her with Matt to be raised. So I thought that was really funny.
Right.
I love the added history because it saves me a whole world of trouble just to kind of refresh my memory as to like what was the history there. But I just find it hilarious. Like, one way to get Peter to like Anna is like, okay, let's just point out that she's a terrible mother altogether, and she's better at it as an adult when she doesn't actually have to take care of you. So
Oh.
it's so yeah, so look, I think that they're gonna find their way, but I completely appreciate that raw scene, and I love your point, and I think that, like you said, the raw honesty is pretty much the springboard. So even though it seemed like a bleak conversation, it's actually going to be the springboard to them forming a relationship. It's just so sad when he got a little, he didn't mean to, but he was just saying
Mhm.
something honest, but, and I don't think he really was jealous, but it was sort of like, well, Griffin's the son for you, not me. And I was like,
I know.
oh, you're forced
Oh.
to kind of bond with me. And I was like, oh, see, there's the little boy right there.
Yes, so true. Oh my goodness. I did really enjoy your comment though that you were saying of that she's only good with kids when they're adults. Because at the end of the episode, Robert said something like, "Don't forget to call your granddaughter some forgotten
Oh,
like he reminded her that she should call her granddaughter."
which is funny because Robert is the one who's supposed to be more elusive and constantly away. So
Yes.
that's really funny for him to do. But speaking of Robert, I have to once again, I completely agree when it comes to this whole memory transfer thing. Like, who cares? Move on with your life.
Oh,
Stop trying to investigate
yes.
this one memory. This is so stupid. But so I loved Robert when he was like, well, I mean, it's just such an unimportant memory. And she's like, but a man died and he was so good. But it's just like, aren't you a spy? Shouldn't you be used to people being dead and dying and casualties? Like sometimes like it's great that you have emotions, awesome, but you're a spy.
And she likes to throw that around.
Right? It's like you think that like Finn is like, maybe Finn's not tough enough to handle her tough spy lifestyle, but you break down every 2 seconds being like, it's so hard. We have to shoot people. Like it's like stop it. You're Anna Devane. Act like Anna Devane and stop freaking out over one memory. Or maybe just be more honest with yourself and just speak up about the one memory you're actually probably more concerned about. So I'm
Exactly.
just annoyed that you would send Robert on this stupid errand to go dig up files in London or something.
She has some like. Do you think he's really gonna do it?
He seems to like traveling so much so that he's willing to go through files. But speaking of Anna being good with adults, she was great with Dante.
Yes, that was the one scene. I was a bit thrown off at some parts of it. You know, she's talking about being brainwashed, and then she said the line that was her trigger line, and it was kind of like even he reacted the same way I reacted, like I don't know what you're saying. But I did appreciate because I was wondering who he was calling to meet
Yeah,
up
me
with
too.
him.
Me
Because like
too.
who else on the show was actually brainwashed? Even though it's a soap opera, there's not a whole lot of them that have been brainwashed.
See, you're so smart because you're thinking he must have called somebody with a similar experience. I'm like, I don't know. Who are you calling? Like, I don't know. Who's your friend? Like, who do you want to talk? Like, none of that even occurred to me.
So yeah, I really did enjoy that.
So they were sued together. Before we go there, we're kind of like skipping ahead before he actually admits
Mm-hmm.
to like brainwashing. So he has like a party with some people. And I
Yeah,
love that
yeah.
they did address though that Carly and Sunny weren't there. I'm like, well, where's Kristina? Like, where's Molly? Like, Molly is basically your sister at this point. So he has his party. He's clearly not doing well. He keeps asking for
Mm-hmm.
Chase, and I am a little bummed that they didn't get a scene together.
I know. Two cuties.
So, okay, you know what? Forget the party. It was whatever. The best part about the party was when Michael went up to him and just threw in there,
Yes.
yeah, like, so Christina's in a cult. It's just like,
So funny
what?
because it's just like Michael. I don't know if it's his expression, but he always makes me giggle
He's
because he just
goofy.
kind of
He's so silly. He's
yes.
so silly. Oh my
And
gosh. And the more
it's
I see him like on Instagram, like his real self, which is more goofy, I
yes.
find it's more fun watching it. Even Brad Perry Shen, just because in real life he's really funny and goofy. And just so like I just find I enjoy them more like when I see them
As their
in their
characters.
suits. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, when I saw him in that scene, it also felt like one of those moments that wasn't what was written, but they kept it because it was funny.
It was just so cute, but it's just like when he said to Dante, and I get it, he's mostly speaking to like how vulnerable you are to be manipulated. But just the
Yes.
moment that he said, like, oh, she's not like you and me. And I know what he meant, but all I kept thinking was like, yeah, tough like you and Dante. Your brother went undercover for months and what, your baby CEO? Like, I was just like, you can't compare the two. I just thought it was so cute because he was such a little brother in that moment. Like, Michael is the big brother a lot of the times.
Yes.
But in that moment, he's like, I'm cool like you, right, Dante? Like, it was just
Oh, it's
very,
so
it was a
true.
very little brother, and I thought it was just hilarious. But like, okay, Dante is just phenomenal. Like, it just is. Like,
Oh,
his acting with Mike, like all of his scenes with Anna, it was just amazing. But my favorite was the Metro Court and the knife scene.
oh my goodness. That was impeccable. And we know, like we've read that they only shoot things once.
Yeah, like
And
once
if
or
that
twice,
was
like not
it,
much.
what yeah, and if that's the case, like wow, hats off to him. That was amazing.
But that's that's why they're all amazing. Like, look at what they do. They don't have the luxury of like 20 takes and people editing a bunch of crap for them together. It's like either you have it or you don't. And Dante just did such an amazing job. And what creeped me out the most, what's before I say that, what's
Mhm.
really funny is like I love the role of Carly in that scene. Like you basically need someone to blab while you kind of lose your mind, like in the scene, and it's like
Yes.
it's sweet, but involved because Carly can tell his story, but that story was just sort of dragging. It's just really
True.
funny. It's just the way it was done. It's like she did the little babble in the background, which was really adorable. And then so the part that really got me, not only did Dante do a good job, but when they couldn't get him to drop the knife, and the fact that Jason thought to say stand down,
I know. I got chills. I got chills again.
that was the creepiest part. So now,
Yes, because he knew.
yeah, so that to me was really really I loved it, and it's kind of like the start of something really cool and special, but then it's sort of ripped away. So let's just get to it. I mean, I already told you last week that he had a 10 episode contract, so clearly
Yes.
today was episode 10. If anybody watched, it was episode 10. He did his job. It's over. So what are your thoughts? Like, does this push things forward? Because as an actor, I can see how this is awesome. Like you get to, because the thing is, I don't know if you know this, and I will check out his show, but he already
Okay.
filmed season one and I think season two of a show on Amazon Prime. And too bad I don't remember the
Ooh.
name, but he said it on This Is Awesome podcast with Steve Burton and Bradford Anderson. And he
Okay.
plays it, he's like a drug dealer, I think. There's like a drug cartel I think that he's involved in. So he's been doing that show. And so as an actor, I think it's really cool because he gets to come back and he gets to do these really interesting short stints. I just don't know how regular that might be. So as an actor, I
Mm.
think it's super cool for him. But like as the Dante Lulu story, what do you think? I mean, it would make sense that her husband show up after she got stabbed, but but like now what? Do you think we could have done without the return? Like what do you think?
Oh, I'm so okay. So the fact that there's Dante back, I was very happy to see his face and have those scenes and giggle at his tweets that he had about the scenes and how much he enjoyed them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
um, I just feel for Lulu. They feel like she feels her family's back together. Her kid is full of hope. How is she? Like when she was pleading with him, and how am I supposed to explain this to people? I think it was right. Like, yeah, you don't have to answer to people in life and blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, it's like she's going to be broken now. And now she's going to have to find a way to rebuild her life, explain this to her kid and everybody around them because he's just dumping it all on her. I thought it was really,
Yeah.
I don't like Lulu, but I like what she had to say and how she played that scene. And on a funny note, when she's like, I'll wait for you forever. And Dante's like, forever's a long time. I think I said it at the same time as him. Like, forever's a long time, girl. Like, I know he's cute, but no.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. But it was so hard. Like I would get so mad. I would literally have slapped him, been like,
Oh,
"Give me some
yes.
more damn detail. You're saying nothing to me. Like you're saying nothing to me." Because the way he's talking, he's giving Lulu the impression that he has some sort of PTSD. It's a lot more complicated than that. You've been brainwashed and you're afraid you might murder somebody. Why can't you just tell her that? I
That's
think
a
you
really
owe
good
her that.
point.
That was
That's a
like
good point.
that's the epitome of my pet peeve when I talk about it all the time on the podcast and people just don't say the things properly. Like they make things more confusing. Like just get to the point and say what you mean. You know what I say when they paraphrase or they leave out really relevant information? And he left out the most important part is that the
Agreed.
reason you can't do therapy once a week is that you need in a more intensive type of situation because you've been brainwashed. In addition to dealing with the fact that you are no longer the same person due to your experience as a whole.
Yes, I agree. I think he was very much speaking in circles and in
He
tongue. Like,
was.
he wasn't getting to the point. If he hadn't told Anna or Mike about how he's feeling, I would say, okay, he doesn't know how to articulate how he's feeling. He doesn't know how to express it, or he's really lost in his head. But he said it to two people already. Why can't
Yeah.
he say it to Lulu?
I think that was really unfair given what you're asking her to do. And to be honest with you, it was confusing to me what he was asking of her. It
Yeah,
really was
same.
because at the end, she's like, "So there's hope." He's like, "Yeah, like if I do this, then there could be a chance." And I'm like, I don't understand because because when he kept telling her, "I want you to live your life." What does that mean? Live her life, fulfill all her needs, like every one of her needs. Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking her to do? And so like I thought that was really unfair because he kept going back and forth and to what I felt was the status of their relationship. So I thought that was really awful to do, because the thing is, he's not going undercover. He's going to like a facility where he's getting therapy. From what Anna said, it's more like rehab. So there's very much the possibility of like continuous communication. So,
It
I
didn't
mean,
have to be so definite or finite. I'm not sure.
no,
But so like
exactly.
it's over. It's like black or white,
She could have
live your
came with
life.
him to the facility and left. Like she could, like so much more could have been done there. But obviously, we know he was there for 10
Yes.
episodes. He's leaving, and he has to find a way to make the leaving kind of final for a moment. You know what I mean? Like final in a certain sort of way between them. So I just don't know. Like, I mean, the only thing I can think of in terms of like how it pushes the story forward is that it is really interesting for the actor Dante when he comes back. It leaves so much room for should he come back or should they replace the character? There's so many places to go. But honestly, when he left the first time, I just sort of thought this sort of opens up the opportunity. Like we honestly assumed that when he came back, it would be to wrap things up completely between him and Lulu.
Absolutely.
So the only thing I can say is that this just adds another layer to possibly splitting. Like it's adding another strain to the relationship, but I don't know. Like I
I
really
don't
have
know
no idea.
how. And he was like, Peter's name came up. He spoke about Peter. She spoke about Peter. Like, I'm wondering if this is the opening. And then Maxie and Peter didn't really want to discuss their first date. Is this the, how do you say, like the new love triangle potentially?
Oh
Where
God, that
there's
can't happen. It would be
I know it
so.
can happen, but you know how Maxie was saying how broken their relationship was, how fundamentally Dante and Lulu were never the same, how it changed her relationship with her to the core. Like all of these seeds are being planted, but for the separation of Dante and Lulu or breaking another relationship in a different way.
I don't know. I mean, I
I don't know
know
either.
often you're right, but it's just the reason why I say it can't happen. It's because Lulu is demonstrating that she understands that there is something being built between Maxie and Peter. So
True.
if she does cross that line, it's done with complete knowledge. It's not really done with her like not knowing or unsure. This is her knowing full well that there's something going on between Maxie and Peter, and then just doing something like that. So that would be
I
really a rough
call.
thing on their friendship.
Okay, my bet is she gets drunk at the nurse's ball. Peter will be drunk as well because Maxie's doing something with the Marine guy. And bada bing, bada boom. That's the night people sleep together.
It's true. If something big were to happen, it would be then. It would, but I just feel bad for Lulu because she's put in a position where, let's say, she might sleep with someone, even if it's Peter. But I just feel bad for her because then she's gonna feel guilty because she's in
I
this open-ended
know.
situation. I feel bad for her because I just don't think that should be something that she should have to go through. And so, just speaking of our ambivalence about the whole thing, Ty Shane one son says, "I'm not sure yet what to think about the Dante storyline. Not liking it right now, but that could change." Yeah, like he left it was open-ended. And I guess my opinion on the storyline is really open ended because I'm just wondering. Yes, he came and left, and it really sucks because it was amazing, and he took with him in a really interesting storyline. But yeah, I kind of want to know what will this do for Lulu? Like, how will this push her story forward and the story of their family? And speaking to what you were saying, Dolphin PR1, she had a couple of comments, but one of them was, "Who will court Lulu if Dante leaves?" And so courting is different. Accidentally
True.
sleeping with Peter because they have a bond is very different than her being pursued by somebody. And I wonder, will we have somebody pursuing her?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. This is really, really off and really kind of like this is really crazy. And it's not like your predictions that are very likely to happen. But Jax is coming back.
Whoa, whoa,
I know it's a
whoa.
bit ill, but Jax is coming back. Because I don't know anybody in the canvas right now who would pursue her, who's single.
That's a good point. Oh my gosh.
Other than
Okay,
her cousin
well.
Michael. Like that would
Oh
be.
gosh. No, 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 no. Okay, but just talking about like silliness. Didn't you think it was funny that she only noticed Dante's scars? Like Lulu noticed Dante's scars when she went into bed. Like, weren't they like doing it? Didn't she touch his back? Like, how did she not know?
Yeah, that was a little delayed. But
I
I mean,
laughed.
I guess she was just really caught up in the moment. I have to say, I have the most inappropriate. Like, thank God I didn't like post this, but I'll probably say it now. So, like, like all the like, all this like BS crap of like all the dawn of day self help.
Yes.
So before we knew how bad Dante was,
Yes.
I was thinking he could use some other kind of help, like the Marvin Gaye kind of help. That's what I was thinking. Like, that would have been my strategy.
Same.
That's what I was thinking. Also, kind of funny, and I mean, Dante's gone, and the reason being he's afraid he's going to kill somebody. So to that point, I thought this was hilarious. Tony Pierce said, "Come on, Dante, go after Shiloh. No one would hold that against you. Enough people hate this terrible man, life destroyer." That would have been so funny. Like, one reason for him to stay. It's like, stay if it means that you may kill Shiloh.
Oh my
That would have been
gosh.
super funny and like, problem solved.
Done and done.
Yeah, okay. So let's take it somewhere kind of Nina. Nina.
Oh,
Nina,
Nina.
Liz, Nina, Willow, that whole
Just,
Kelly scene. Before we get into that, I just have to say, why wouldn't Liz talk to Aiden about a party? Why would she jump over to the table and ask the girl?
I know, I thought that was so embarrassing. Like,
This
why
is
would you
what
do
I
that?
mean. Like, this is weird. Like, this fits with what she admits. She admits she does her best for her kids, but she doesn't always go about it the right way. She's sort of admitted that, and this is one of those moments where it's kind of like what she does with Cam. It's like, rather than like taking a minute to get her kids' perspective, she kind of like jumps the gun a little.
Yes.
So, anyways, like, aside from that, she's there waiting for Willow. She's super concerned about Aiden. And then freaking Nina comes up to talk to her. And I mean, I get it at this point why Liz is just not happy, because Nina is not Nina when it comes to this storyline. It's not her. And I knew,
No.
and initially, like, she said it on her Twitter that she's there to, like, it's hard for her to play this role because she knows that people are. And even Steve Burton and Bradford Anderson talked about this in their podcast, that a lot of actors, some actors are comfortable playing the villain and kind of doing what they can to make the character come alive, but a lot of people have a hard time playing the villain and kind of hold back just because, and people don't know the difference. Like, that it's a character, because like the Perry Shins, that he goes out in public and people are screaming, "Give Michael his baby back." It's like, that's not a fun thing to experience out in public when you're just doing your job. So
Yes.
so Nina said that, like, in playing this character, she's there to represent that extreme parent, like that extreme, like being indulgent and all that. But you know what
Yes.
I think? I think that, yes, she's doing that part of the character, but I think she also has to amp it up because she has to have this animosity with Willow for
Exactly. It's really
for the unfolding
important.
of a different storyline. So there's two reasons why it's so amped up, but it's just
It's,
hard to watch.
it is
But
hard to watch.
it serves a purpose, it serves a point. Like, it serves, one, just the representation, but two, it serves as a really important element between the relationship of her and Willow and what will happen, because we believe that Willow is her daughter. So she comes up to Liz, but it's like she's trying to make peace, but like, the point is, you're not really making peace from you. You're making peace because the circumstances have changed, and you think that Willow is the problem. So now that Willow's there, you can get along with Liz, and everything can be put behind you guys.
That was so ridiculous. And I agree. When I see her in these scenes, it turns off for me. Like, I don't want to see Nina in these scenes, and I don't like it. But we watch it, it's entertainment. And she really kind of takes on this "I'm going to eat you up and spit you out" attitude.
Yeah.
And I like, and what did she say? There was something she said that I thought was kind of interesting. So she's like, "Oh, if this was any other teacher, by day 2, this would be solved." But what would be
Yeah.
solved? Because she doesn't believe that her stepdaughter did anything wrong. So what exactly would have been solved?
Exactly. She keeps going back and forth. It's kind of like with Willow. No, you shouldn't abandon the children, and then it's like, no, you shouldn't come back. It's like
Yes.
she's not rational when it comes to her, and she says
True.
basically the opposite things all the time. But when she said that, it really bothered me. This concept that it's everybody has this idea that, like, somebody else can do it better. Oh, there's always a quick fix, and somebody
Yes.
else could have done it better.
Yes.
And it's like, no, it's a complicated issue. Bullying is a complicated issue, and if you weren't receptive when there was a lot of evidence, how would you have been receptive day 2?
Exactly. Exactly.
Whatever.
Over it.
Anyways, so, like, as much as, like, Elizabeth is not always my favorite character, she's becoming a little bit more likable. We're getting to see a more
Yes.
well-rounded person. And look, Elizabeth has been called a porcelain doll before. It's her facial features. She's very
I know.
pretty.
She
She's
is.
delicate features. But for me, and I get it, I get on the surface, the image of Elizabeth and Willow being friends because they're not loud. But I
Yes.
think Nina crossed a line, and she does it a lot in her, like, in this context only. In this context only, she distorts what a strong woman is. And I thought she
Yes.
crossed a line in the way she talked about Willow and the way she talked about Elizabeth, because I'm sorry, don't they both talk back to you? Like, what do you mean?
Exactly.
Like, yes, physically they both might look like porcelain dolls because they're cute, petite, and tiny. But I'm just saying, like, don't they both talk back to you? They both don't take your crap. They both say what they think. They clear like, and
Exactly.
we know that they've both gone through a crap ton of things. So I'm just sort of like, so what? Like, they have to be loud in your face? They have to be like Charlotte?
And that's the whole point I think that they're driving, that Charlotte is being like Nina. Nina is Charlotte. They're being bullies just in different age brackets, and they don't know what
Yeah.
it is to be strong, because stomping around and yet making people feel small is not being strong.
I can tell you what it is. As long as you're respecting your rights and the rights of others, that's okay. Otherwise, you're just being aggressive. Like,
Yes,
I
there
can tell,
you go.
aggression is impeding on the rights of the other person. Being assertive is respecting that person while speaking up for yourself. And Nina does not seem to get that. But this is where it's confusing, because she is this in this context, but she doesn't seem to kind of represent those distorted ideas outside of Willow and Elizabeth.
In those scenes, like we said, that she's harsh, she's strong, she's a certain way.
It's
But then
amped
you
up.
see her, yes, and then you see her with, let's say, a scene with Maxie, or when they're doing their lunches, or those whole situations. She's so lovely, and she encourages Maxie, and Maxie is a strong person, but without stomping her feet and yelling.
Yeah,
She
she's not as
falls in
loud.
line with, exactly. So it's very directed.
Yeah, you're right. It's very directed because she distorts a lot of things so she can vilify Elizabeth and Willow, because those same things apply to other people, but she just doesn't really acknowledge it when it does. So, yeah, Nina's crazy when it comes to them, and it's just hard to watch. And I honestly cannot wait for her to see that necklace on Willow.
I know. Well, speaking of Nina, that other scene that it kind of falls in line with the spit it out already is the scene with Nina and Sasha in her office. I'm
Right?
like, holy Mother Mary, how long is it going to take you to spit it out?
Say something. Say something. Just, I was like, just like, if it was me, like, I can't keep my mouth shut. I'd be like, I'm not your daughter.
I'd be
Hold
the
on,
worst
I'm not your
soap
daughter.
opera
Like,
actor.
it just, I can get it out in like one breath. Not your daughter. Like, just do that.
We would
I
also
just,
be able to go check out our shoes in our trunk pretty quickly too.
yeah, like basically the episode would be 5 minutes. That's what Johnny tells me all the time. He's like, Michelle, if you were to write an episode, it would be over in the first 5 minutes. I'm like,
I love it.
everyone, stop standing in your way. Why are you creating obstacles that don't need to be there? So yeah, I just I was really annoyed because I'm like, well, clearly after the lunch, she's not gonna confess. And the worst part is with that whole thing is that Liesel thinks she's got Valentine, but I'm
I
pretty sure
know.
Valentine has got them all, and it's gonna come back that Sasha is her daughter. So at this point, you know what? Maybe I'll be right for the first time. Because I said it
Yes.
might come down to Sasha putting her relationship on the line with Nina and confessing. Because if Valentine is like messed with that DNA test and it's like the final thing that convinces everybody,
Mm-hmm.
then it's either Sasha can, I guess she'll just see the necklace. Never mind. I thought I'd be right. I thought I'd be right. I thought that maybe it would come to a point where it got too much for Sasha and that she might just confess everything to Nina and be
But
one of
it
those when the truth comes
is.
out.
It is, though. It's getting to that point. Like it's the first time I see that much emotion in that character.
But you know
And
what I think
she,
is you know what I think is gonna happen? I think that when it shows it as her daughter, Nina might say things like, I knew it was, and if it wasn't, I would blah blah blah. And that would kind of quiet up Sasha.
ooh, okay,
If
yeah.
she says, if I suspected that, that would be terrible. Like, I think if she says what she would feel if they did lie to her, I
Mm-hmm.
think that might be the thing that it shuts her up even more. But I feel like Liesel wouldn't be done with them. But you know what I
No.
think? Even if she ever sees the necklace on Willow, I feel like Nina, rather than being like, oh my God, that's my daughter, I think she might be aggressive like she always is with her. Like, where did you get that? And be kind of like mean to her.
Ooh,
That's what I think. I think
yes.
she may be mean to her at first. And Willow is so nice that she sits there. Like she defends herself, but she also kind of like tolerates her and kind of answers her rather than being like, go away. Like, it's harassment if I'm not at work. Like, just go away. Like, go away.
Seriously, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that kind of bothers me. But you know what? It might come out at the wedding. That might be the timeline for that whole secret
Yes, weddings are always very explosive in Port Charles.
Oh yes, Elizabeth would know. She has a lot of failed weddings that way. I don't even know why I had to take that
Oh,
dig,
poor girl.
but it just came to me. It's not true. Everyone else has had crappy weddings as well. Brenda would know.
Oh goodness, yes,
Sonny
yes, she
just
would.
sat. He just sat in the limo and didn't marry Brenda, but then he married Carly like 5 times. That's gotta hurt. So, so Oscar, Oscar.
My poor little Oscar bear. I don't even
It's
know. It's so sad.
so the thing is, I was literally thinking this. I was like, you know what? Monica needs to be a little bit more involved. Like I just was just having these thoughts, and then she was
Yes.
involved this week because I think I saw commercials about like the 56th anniversary and all like the more like legacy characters were in there. And then I was just thinking, well, like where's Monica in all this? Like she not like I think she naturally fits in to this storyline, and I like that she's
Mm-hmm.
this sort of sage person that's there to support Drew and Kim together. And also, it's just like she works at the hospital, and everyone's at the hospital a lot. So if they're at the hospital a lot, I just feel like you should show Monica more. That's just my opinion. Because everyone's just chit chats in the hospital, and none of them have appointments.
I
That's
like
my
that you're like,
impression.
yes. And then I agree. And I enjoyed the heart to heart with Drew and Monica when she was giving him the award and just trying to get him to emote, trying to get him to like react and
I
do
like that
something. And
I like that you said that because it fits with what you've been saying about him. Like trying to get him to. But you know what I wish? I wish Monica took the lead and just started breaking stuff. Like
me
because
too.
he's not getting it. He's all like, "Oh, it won't change anything." He's right. It's not going to fix Oscar, but I think Monica's right. Let it out. Feel good for a little bit. You deserve, even if it's 5 minutes of feeling good. You deserve that little release, so that little energy you gain from that release, that you can give it to Oscar. So I kind of wish, because like clearly he's not going to listen, and I don't think he's going to take care of himself. So on that end, I felt like Monica should have just took the lead and sort of forced him to kind of take care of himself and to kind of let it out.
Well, I hope that they all move into the house together. So, Kim, Drew, and Oscar, that's going to be kind of interesting. And then Monica can be grandma, mom, caretaker, and help them through it and bring them all closer together.
I'm glad that Kim was open. She was like, let me just ask Oscar, and it was up to him. So I was super happy, because the thing is, if he has his final days, she lives in the condo, and I can understand why Monica would offer that. And I think it's a better idea. You somebody like, you have her as a doctor there, you have
Yes.
Kim that's there, the father's there. So when I heard the invite, I was like, oh my gosh, we're finally gonna get that, like we're gonna fill up the Quartermain house again. Because I don't think Kim will leave
Hmm.
after he passes, should he pass.
Really?
I'm
Oh,
still
I
in
kind of think
denial.
it's cute.
I think she'll stay. I think this is a way of like filling up that house again. Like why would
Aw.
she leave the mansion?
I know. Why would you?
So so that's what I thought was interesting. I think that would be really cool, because they've had all kinds of people who've at one time or another lived in the Quartermain house. Carly has lived in the Quartermain house.
Right. Oh, it's so weird to think about that.
Yeah. So this leaves us with a little bit of Ryan. Actually, before we get to Ryan, do you want to talk about Cam's court case?
Yes.
So he's
Um.
off the hook. There we go. There we go. The
Okay.
only thing,
The
you go. Tell me. What do you think? What do you think?
Okay, the funny thing that happened in that scene was the eyes that Elizabeth was making at Trina and waiting for that introduction, and then asking about the sleeping arrangements. And then when Cam kind of, you know, makes the situation kind of slippery and leaves so he doesn't have to actually answer,
He
she
made
turns
it
around.
worse.
I know, though. She turns around, looks at Franco, and says he needs a talk. And then Franco is so classic, so beautiful. He says, I know the perfect woman to give him that speech.
I think she should give him the talk. She's already talked to him about consent with Joss. That door's open. I
Yes.
think she can handle it. Plus, she's a nurse, so if it gets weird, just get nursey and factual with him. But I feel like she's already touched on that territory with him already, and it wouldn't be a stretch if she sort of like had that conversation. And I 100% think that she can do it. But yeah, Cam just made that so bad for himself. Why would you brush it? Because you're basically you're giving your mom ideas that we might have, and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, he could have lied and said, "You're right. I was in Oscar's room,"
Oh my
or
gosh.
"Nothing happened. Mom, it was okay." Like you could have easily answered that question.
Exactly.
He's such a little poo. He's such a little poo. But I liked what he said to his mom earlier when she's like, when you like, you're my kid, so you're my life. Like, you'll understand one day. And then he kind of shot that back at her. So it's
Yes.
interesting. It's interesting having him say that about her too, which is really sweet because it shows that, he's not so much of a kid. Most teenagers don't articulate things like that or can
That's true.
say or feel like a caring towards their parent. That usually comes later when you're like not a teenager and less selfish. and
I
you're,
know, but I
and you're
guess
kind of like, but it speaks to what we've been saying about their dynamic.
and also what's going on with Oscar. Like he has to face realities now that he wouldn't have had to face until a lot later. And I
Mm-hmm.
do hope that even everything going on with Oscar and they can't go on these big car rides and adventures
I
that
want them
they
to
they take
stop.
it
I want
down.
them. They take it down.
I no, I was gonna say, take down the level of the intensity of the adventures, but still follow them around. Like I like seeing them as a threesome. I like their dynamic together, but doing little like poor Charles adventures, but still maintaining that like fun part until
No,
we
I
get to the
don't.
dark
I don't
part.
want any adventures. I want them to sit in places and just talk. Stop
Oh, that's
doing
what I
dumb
mean. No, but I
stuff.
mean like going. They wanted that cookie. Like go get your cookie. Like cute little things that forces them that they're together, but still is fun for them.
No,
Less
no, no.
adventure, I guess
I
I should
want
say, more
less
fun.
danger. I
Yeah,
want
yeah,
less
yeah. One
danger.
hundred
No,
percent.
I
One
want
hundred
you to
percent.
Uber Eats the cookie to me. I
Oh,
want them. I want them to, because like even in talking, can you handle the walk? Well, I'll walk and then we'll Uber it if we need. So like for me,
yes.
I want them to tone it down to so much more. I want you to
Way,
sit
way
way
down.
down, way down. Stay in someone's house. Like bad crap happens. Stay near to a hospital. Like I just don't trust these guys. They're like a disaster when they're together. So like I of course I get it. Stay local. Just chill out at home. But I'm just like, you guys, they invite trouble. So I just hope that yes, we get a lot more like substance, like those exchanges. Like we do not need like these little dramas. We don't need a car breaking down. I think all those kids are such amazing actors, and there's so much that can happen that I'm ready to kind of like have those meaningful scenes, and we don't need any added drama. I personally don't think.
I agree.
So to Ryan, well, not really Ryan, but to Kevin. So
Yes.
poor guy is all arrested, and he's all like, "I'm gonna ready to accept
Sad.
my fate." But I just sort of feel bad for Laura. She's been dumped twice by fake and real Kevin.
I really like that observation because I didn't think about it that way. But yeah, that kind of sucks for lack of a better word.
It does, and I don't know what's going to happen because if she chooses to stay married to him, because he said he wouldn't fight the divorce, but kind of I wonder if he would fight her if she doesn't ask for a divorce. Like I don't.
Well, I also there was that chat between Laura and Carly, and they had a heart to heart in regards to Carly admitting the difficulties of a relationship with Sonny, but staying by his side and fighting for their love is worth it for her. And Laura seems to be contemplating that, but I don't know what side she's going to lay on. I mean, this is a little bit different. This is Sonny's career, and not to be light about it or flippant, but he kills bad people, whereas this whole situation allowed for a lot of innocent people to die.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I guess it's a stretch for Laura, and maybe just out of character for Kevin. I guess maybe she thought like I'm not with Luke Spencer right now. I'm with Kevin, and I don't
Oh,
really expect to have to
good
deal
point.
with the scraps. So we don't know how she's seeing it, but I just think it
Hmm.
might be a little too early. Like in their world, this just happened. I mean, Ava is still on a day to day dealing with this, and I think the same goes for Laura. So I think this is way too soon to start making a decision about forever when no one's really processed their anger. And it's a big thing to get through, but I just think she just needs more time. And I think Kevin needs to stop talking about divorce and just focus on. Did they say who his lawyer was? He
No,
needs
they
Diane.
didn't.
He needs
I
Diane.
know Diane's working on some other case, but no, they did not say. And I'm very curious to see because if he has Alexis, he's doomed. If he
Right.
has, you know, yeah.
And Scotty would just be freaking hilarious if you had Scotty as a lawyer. Those two together, they would
Oh
make for some
my,
really super funny scenes. Super
yes.
funny scenes if
Hmm.
Scotty was his lawyer. So Ava and well now we find like we know Ava's been drinking, but they kind of pointed out that she drank so much that she almost got alcohol poisoning.
I know that kind of surprised me.
So that was like an interesting thing to throw in there, in terms of how bad she's doing. And I love Epiphany because like no one's immune to Epiphany, and it's kind of like it doesn't matter who you are. She's wants you to follow, and she's out for like follow her directions, and she
Yes.
cares about your well being. So it's really sweet for Ava to get that kind of care. And she even kind of like did like a shy kind of smile, like, because it's sweet to have that care from somebody like Epiphany.
It's true. It
In
was
the
very
Epiphany
cute.
way. It was really cute scene. So, last week we suspected that Ryan was trying to because they're still talking about him, so it looks like they feel like he's still alive. And
Yes.
Jordan seems to assume that because no car or boat is missing, that somehow he's alive on foot. Ava thinks he's been calling her. And I just thought it was like for me, the main thing was how the moment Jordan was out of sight, Curtis looked to Julian looked to
Julian.
Curtis to kind of like the police are dumb. Can you do this? Can you like cut through all the red tape? And he like did it in 2 seconds.
I know. I love it. I love that everybody knows his capabilities. And I like that Julian, I liked that little moment because they don't really talk to each other.
No, I don't think he's ever done work for Julian.
Okay.
Not that I can
So
recall.
no, so I liked that. I liked that whole thing. And I didn't like the answer though, because I feel like it's not true.
That's what I was going to ask you if you believed him. I don't know if Curtis is lying. I don't
Ah,
know. But
okay.
I was really, really surprised because I'm sorry, but since when does a soap opera have something happen that means nothing? Like everything means something. Like, like Carly got those like calls at a payphone in the middle of nowhere. It was no. Like, I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, it's a robocall. Like
and
that wasn't the answer.
and since
So
when do robocallers just heavy breathe into the phone?
robots don't breathe, from what I
Right.
understand. They're pretty dead in a way, like dead and alive, I guess, but they don't breathe. So I don't know what to think
Oh,
about that. And I also don't know what to think about what it means about like Curtis and Jordan that, she turns away and he just sort of takes the lead on the cases. Yes, it's reflective of the PCPD being incompetent as a whole, but the point is his wife's the commissioner. So that might be a little
problematic at
a little a
times.
little a little weird, but it happens. So yeah, so it's a robocall, it's not a robocall. I guess we're gonna find out next week.
I guess so. To be
Alrighty.
continued.
Yeah, like every day pretty much
I love it. I love it.
to be continued. So have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.